Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the whole elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shah. So got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rikak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether you can accept it or not. And a sincere salutation to all the occupant pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwath who are listening and learning. To our few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Atlanta Camp coming at you another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification, another daily edification. Lord's willing, this be edifying. And I titled this lesson, Strategies of War. So I got a few clips I'm going to show of how World War III is brewing up through the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah, how World War III is playing out. And some of these war instruments, these Salaki, these the war instruments that's going to be used. I would say it like that. These war instruments that these nations using and how it's brewing up. So first one I'm going to play is this one. So check this out. Got a few clips. Make sure it's sharing. This is the Lord strategically moving these chess pieces, man. So let me turn this volume down. Hey, because this is really going down, man. For the ones that don't understand what's going on, it's happening, man. The Lord got the spirit on these people to prepare for war. So check this out.
Up between the U.S. and two of its top foreign adversaries. Chinese and Russian officials are condemning U.S. military action near their borders and touting the, quote, unbreakable friendship between the two countries. Coinciding with a virtual meeting between Beijing and Moscow defense leaders yesterday, the Chinese government issued a statement accusing the U.S. of undermining regional stability by recently sailing a guided missile destroyer through the Taiwan Strait. Tensions between China and Taiwan have increased in recent months, with fears China may be plotting an invasion of its neighbor. President Biden last month pledged to support Taiwan in the event of an invasion. As for Russia, Kremlin officials blasted the U.S. for an alleged increase in military advisors and weapons systems near the country's border with Ukraine. This comes as recent satellite images show Russian forces amassing near the Ukraine border, sparking invasion concerns there.
This is for educational purposes only. This is not for monetary gain. And I do not own the copyright to these videos. This is for educational purposes only. Lord, wouldn't it be edifying? And as the apostles been saying for years, and elders, younger brothers that's teaching, that the major prophecies that is waiting on is the Charagma being made mandatory, that all the Charagma, the MOTB, right? Jacob's trouble in World War III. And these are these strategic moves that Yahweh Shema Shah is showing us, man, that's being made every day. They're drawing close. These major prophecies is about to come to a head, man.
Touting China's alliance with Russia, Beijing's defense official said yesterday, quote, standing in the face of frantic U.S. containment and pressure, China and Russia are united together like a great mountain. Our friendship is unbreakable.
A great mountain. That means a superpower. A superpower, man. And Russia is the main part of World War III, man. Okay? Russia plays a great part in World War III. As they tell you in Ezekiel 38, man. So this is not something that's out of the blue, man. This prophecy playing out right here.
It is to laugh. Let's bring in right now President of Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass, and columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post.
You see what that say? That say Chinese and Russia officials condemn U.S. military actions. You see that? This is major, man. This is serious.
David Ignatius. Richard Haass, like an unbreakable mountain, I don't even know where to go with that, given the history between China and Russia. But let's talk about the dangers facing the world, the Biden administration, the tough decisions they're going to have to be making. You have two countries that have designs on two different countries, Taiwan and Ukraine, and they both look poised to strike. Could yesterday's meeting, could the joint statement be basically a sign that both may move on their invasions at a time when it'll be hard for the United States to push back?
Look, Joe, we can only measure capabilities. We can't measure intentions. I don't think either is imminent. The China pressure against Taiwan, I think, is longer term. I'm not sure China's yet reached the point where it has all the military capability it would want, need. Russia, though, is very close. If it wanted to launch a massive invasion against Ukraine. Look, these two countries have two things in common. One is their fundamental illiberalism. They are authoritarians, and they really want a very different world order where the kinds of things we're pushing in democracy and human rights don't happen. And then they are in a position, to get to this opening thing that Mika just talked about, that they each could potentially benefit from a crisis in the other's backyard, and they might seek to exploit it. So one of the things the Biden administration has to think about is not simply how we deter a crisis in each of these two areas, but also how we prepare for both simultaneously, because I don't think it's possible to rule out a kind of tactical exploitation by Russia or China if there is a crisis elsewhere in the world.
Well, and David Ignatius, that's exactly the concern. I think that many people in the foreign policy field around Joe Biden are having. The fact that we had this joint statement yesterday, and you have China ready to go after Taiwan. Been talking about it, obviously, for decades. And, of course, Russia poised to go into Afghanistan. Could they do it simultaneously in a bid to present such an overwhelming challenge to the United States that we cannot respond to either?
And you see how cold this is? So you got China going at Taiwan, right? This is to show you how cold the Lord is. China going at Taiwan, which America is going to defend Taiwan, and Russia is going at Ukraine, which America is trying to defend Ukraine, man. That's the Lord got these devils right in the middle, man, right where they supposed to be at. This prophecy, because this devil, Babylon the Great, always trying to defend, right? Its allies is going to turn on them anyway. That's cold, man. How the Lord got this playing out. America trying to defend Taiwan against China, and America trying to defend Ukraine against Russia. This is cold, man. This is real strategic pieces being moved, man.
I think that's obviously the message they're sending. I see two basic points about this, Joe. The first is alliance mobilization, if you will. And it's always scary when you get these statements of commitment by allies in a period of tension. It reminds us of 1914 and the lead up to World War I, where affirmations of alliances were a key part of the buildup. Russia and China have nominal commitments that were renewed, but this was more specific and graphic language. The thing that worries me more is the way in which these statements seem to suggest an equivalence between Taiwan, which China regards as part of China, that it will someday regain. And the U.S. is committed on paper to the idea that there's one China, although we try to defer when that would ever be resolved. And Russia's view, which Putin stated in a 5,000-word essay last summer that nobody really read, saying that Ukraine is part of Russia. Historically, It's always been part of the Russian homeland. And this equivalence between the two makes me worried that Russia is now putting Ukraine on that same status that Taiwan has been.
You see? And as of right now, this is prophecy, man. Yahweh Shah said there shall be wars and rumors of wars, right? So what we got right now is the rumors, man. And this is really serious, man.
We will recover this, if not this month, next month, if not next month, next year. The forces that Russia has now on the Ukraine border are not seen as sufficient for a full invasion. There are actually fewer today than there were last April, when there was an earlier fear that Russia might go over the border. But they are building, and there's intelligence that suggests that Russia has much wider ambitions. So I'd note this is mobilization, but also it may be putting Ukraine in a different category.
I know Willie's going to get to more on Taiwan in just a moment, but Richard Haass, can I just ask, do you just broadly, do we understand this perhaps as China and Russia sensing U.S. weakness in any way and capitalizing on it?
Facing expensive vitamin C creams with dull results? Olay brightens it up with new Olay Vitamin C. Gives you 2 times brighter skin. Hydrates better than the $400 cream. Shop at Olay.com.
The short answer is yes. They've seen what's happened over the last few years, whether it was not honoring the so-called red line in Syria under the Obama administration. Then the Trump administration moved away from American allies, abandoned the Kurds in the Middle East. Most recently, you had the Biden administration implementing the Trump administration's exit from Afghanistan. They see the United States in eternal disarray. You know, Joe was talking about this, or David rather, that there's aspects of pre-1914 internationally. Well, if you look at the United States, there's aspects of the 1850s internally. So they see a United States that's divided and distracted. Everybody's talking about Build Back Better or America First. So yeah, I do think there's a sense of opportunity, given that the United States, which for the last 3/4 of a century has played this outsized role in the world, that we're no longer prepared to do it. It's simply not a priority for us, and we no longer have the necessary political unity. So yeah, I do think both Russia and China are intrigued by whether this opens up strategic opportunities for them.
Exactly.
David, there's another layer to this story this morning. The Biden administration has invited Taiwan to its Summit for Democracy next month. 110 countries are included on the State Department's invitation for the virtual event, which aims to help strengthen democracies worldwide. Neither China nor Russia are included on the list.
Exactly.
A spokesperson for China's Taiwan Affairs Office said the inclusion of Taiwan was a, quote, mistake. Why is this invite significant, David? We heard further from China yesterday that said the United States needs to deal with China as what it calls one China, and not with Taiwan as the self-governing democracy, which you and I know it is.
So the Chinese will be upset by the inclusion of Taiwan in this Summit of Democracies for 2 reasons. First, it gives Taiwan a quasi-sovereign status, treating it as one of the nations that will be invited to this conference. And of course, China says, no, Taiwan is part of the nation of China. And the U.S., on paper, at least, continues to recognize that. More fundamentally, this Summit of Democracies is going to remind the world what is different about Taiwan. I visited Taiwan. Taiwanese democracy is pretty amazing. That people, especially young Taiwanese, are passionate about the kind of freedom that they have. They're like the kids in Hong Kong. They don't want to live in an authoritarian country. And Chinese look to Taiwan and see this continuing democracy, and it worries Beijing. So it's a significant step. I think one interesting question is whether other countries that are invited, the France's, Germany's, our other democratic friends around the world, will get nervous because the Chinese are really going to turn up the heat on this and will be more wary of Taiwan than the U.S. would like them to be.
You know, and Taiwan is an extraordinary country. I had the opportunity, you all in Congress, to go over to the first inauguration of the first democratically elected president, and was struck.
So that's the point I want to make on that. So you see, China and Russia is rolling together, man. Let me pull this second clip, because this is this is really serious, man. And we looking for this, man. We looking for this. So let me get this one. We really looking for this, man, because you got Jacob's Trouble, you got the Karama being made mandatory, the MOTB, and World War III, man. So check this out.
Peter, we're talking a bomber just flying around by itself. What do you make of that news where you have the two generals talking today? Again, like I say, wouldn't we love to be on that phone call? What do you make of all this?
Well, there was just a video conference between the Russian defense minister and Wei, the Chinese defense minister, which they talked about this increasing tension. I mean, we've got two fronts right now that are frightening a lot of us. The situation around Taiwan and the situation around Ukraine. And there's been war talk on both fronts. It might be insane, but it's happening. And both sides are increasing their military exercises. Both sides are acting in ways that are alarming their neighbors. And what Putin said to the foreign ministry in his speech a few days ago was that the United States was flying these sorties 12 miles from the Russian border, nuclear-capable sorties. And the latest charge by the Russian defense minister was that they were actually planning and practicing nuclear attacks. Now, this is really getting very, very dangerous, because at the same time on Friday, you had Russian and Chinese strategic bombers carrying out joint exercises in the Sea of Japan and the East China Sea, which they also did the previous month in terms of the Sea of Japan. So both sides are upping the stakes here. Both sides are increasing the tension, and they're both carrying out these war games. And the more they're doing this in each other's neighborhoods, the more likely it is that there's going to be an accident or a miscalculation or something more aggressive. And so I think the world is really holding its breath right now and hoping that both sides tamp down this growing confrontation.
He said miscalculation or accident. There is no miscalculations and accidents when you have about Shema Shah, man. What he's doing is building up the weak nations. Period, man. That's what's going on.
You think they will, though?
I'm glad that there was a call today between Gerasimov and Milley. That's a step in the right direction. We had the phone conversations between Biden and Xi Jinping. Plans for a meeting between Biden and Putin. They need to be talking, and they need to be pulling back. What's been happening is the opposite. The AUKUS deal between the United States, Britain, and Australia has raised temperatures in the Pacific right now, militarizing the confrontation with China. China carrying out 150 different sorties into the air defense identification zone of Taiwan. Taiwan's buildup and threats. Biden saying on several occasions that the United States would come to Taiwan's defense if there's a confrontation there. You know, that is not America's policy. But Biden, whether it's stumbling around his words as he often does, or confusion, or sending a message, again, we don't know. But these are all taken very, very seriously by China, by Russia, and now by hopefully the United States is taking this very seriously also. And that Milley heard what Gerasimov was warning him about.
We shall find out. Professor Peter Kuznick and David Towell. Gentlemen, two experts, two different topics. Thanks for joining me tonight. Appreciate it.
You see, this is the talk, man. And these are new. This ain't old. These are all new. November. So let me pull this next one. Let's get this one right here.
At this hour, tensions between Russia and the West continue to remain high. And in the latest coming in, Russia's defense minister has now accused the U.S. bombers of rehearsing a nuclear strike on Russia from two different directions earlier this month, and complained that U.S. planes had come within 20 kilometers of the Russian border. The Pentagon maintains that these drills adhere to international protocol and had been publicly announced at the time. But the accusation comes at a time when tensions remain high between Moscow and Washington over Ukraine. In between all this, reports have emerged of U.S. top General Mark Milley speaking to the top Russian military officer, Valery Gerasimov. Though neither side has been forthcoming on what has been discussed so far, the United States has now voiced concerns about a possible Russian attack in Ukraine, a charge that Kremlin has denied. Moscow, in turn, has accused the United States, NATO, as well as Ukraine of provocative behavior, alluding to the U.S. arms supplies to Ukraine and NATO military exercises close to its borders. The defense minister made the comments in a video conference with his Chinese counterpart. Moscow has turned to Beijing for support to counter Western pressure. Russia and China agreed at their meeting to set up cooperation between their armed forces when it came to military exercises and joint patrols. Meanwhile, the U.S. has sent two of its refitted Coast Guard patrol boats to help the Ukrainian Navy. The two new boats are part of an assistance package to Ukraine that's been worth over $2.5 billion since 2014, when Russia annexed the Crimea Peninsula from Ukraine. In fact, Ukraine got two similar vessels in 2019, and Ukrainian sailors have already gone extensive training on these vessels. Despite the conflict and aggressive posturing by Moscow, experts and analysts have said that they do not see Russia mounting a full-scale war against Ukraine anytime soon.
So, you see it. Let me pull this next clip. You see it, man. They always talking about it's a couple of these clips. And these devils always is undermining what's really going on with Russia because they don't understand prophecy, man. So check this out, because it's a war between NATO and Russia. Unavoidable. This is from this chick Adina Calamita. So check this out.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Calamita here. And before we get started in this report, I first want to send out my thoughts and my prayers to all of those affected by the horrible tragedy that occurred in Wisconsin last night. And apparently, they do have the monster that committed this horrendous crime in custody. And he has been revealed. And I'll leave a link for you guys below this report. But again, my prayers are with those in Wisconsin. And with that said, let's get started with this report. Today, I'd like to start with Russia, because tensions have definitely skyrocketed. Take, for instance, this first report. Apparently, a Russian-NATO war over Ukraine is becoming increasingly unavoidable. Russian President Putin has warned that the West isn't taking his country's red lines seriously, and that the U.S. and its allies could be about to sleepwalk into a dangerous conflict with the world's largest nuclear power. The report goes on to read that red lines are about deterrence. The purpose of drawing them in the first place is to communicate crucial security interests and the severe consequences that would ensue if they were undermined. In essence, Moscow's ultimatums are intended to stop the West from making a dangerous miscalculation. Deterrence results in the 3 C's: capability, credibility, and communication. Russia has the military capability to act if its red lines are crossed. It's demonstrated credibility in terms of its preparedness to act on threats, and it knows the specifics must be communicated clearly to avoid the West making any missteps that would necessitate a forceful response. However, the weakness in its red lines is a current lack of detail as to what would happen if another nation took a step too far. And now Russia and NATO certainly appear to be heading towards war in Ukraine. Every meeting, phone call, and summit result in a commitment to the statement that there is no alternative to the Minsk agreement. And with no real intention of implementing the agreement, NATO instead pushed to change realities on the ground.
Hey, and according to these scriptures, man, according to prophecy, NATO gonna back off, man, from Russia. That's scripture, man. NATO is gonna back off, man. So as it seems like NATO gonna go against Russia, this ain't going down, man. Cause it tell you that that the 10 horns upon the beast shall hate the whore, man. So you see, this is the Lord strategically playing chess, man. So it seems like, but it ain't gonna happen, man.
For the past 7 years, Western nations have imposed sanctions on Russia and
Hey, and everything in the news, everything that got to do with World War III, with war, is always with Russia. Why? Because Russia is the main part of this prophecy of World War III, man. And this ain't going away. It's just going to increase. These are the rumors of wars that Yahweh Shah was talking about that will turn into wars.
provided aid and weapons to Ukraine. In March and April, Ukraine began to mobilize its troops on one side of Donbass in preparation for a military solution, which was deterred by the Russian military buildup on the other side. Meanwhile, the U.S. has announced that the door is open for Ukraine's NATO membership. Member states are either ignoring or supporting Ukraine's drone strikes and other attacks. Western warships and warplanes are patrolling even closer along Russia's Black Sea borders, and Western soldiers are sent to Ukraine on training missions that could be used as tripwires that could drag the entire bloc into a war if Russia intervenes. Russia has laid down red lines against further NATO tactics. However, as these red lines continue not to be respected, it would appear that war is becoming increasingly unavoidable. Now, with all of that said, the Kremlin has denied just today that Russian troops are building up on the border with neighboring Ukraine as part of a precursor to a full-blown invasion that could quickly drag the whole continent into a bloody and devastating war.
And that's why they tell you in Joel 2:20 that the Lord will remove far off from Babylon the Great their army, man. Like in the last clip, Russia is proposing to go against Ukraine, which was a part of Russia anyway, and China is proposed to go against Taiwan, which was a part of China anyway. And North America, Babylon the Great, is protecting Taiwan and Ukraine. So that's China and Russia making these devils come to the battlefield, which is the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah. It ain't no coincidence that North America is protecting China and Ukraine. And they don't even know, man. They is finna lose. This is finna be a bloody battle, man. Isaiah 34 tell you, man, that they stink shall come up, man.
On Monday, President Putin's press secretary insisted that the movement of Russian soldiers and military equipment within the country's borders posed no threat to any other nation. According to him, a series of recent reports in a number of Western media outlets said that a conflict could be on the cards were part of a targeted information campaign. He went on to state that Bloomberg is being used as a trumpet, and some American newspapers are also involved. It's about building tensions. It's an attempt to portray Russia as threatening the peace process. Now, speaking of Bloomberg, apparently, they say that the U.S. has shared intelligence, including maps, with European allies that shows a buildup of the Russian troops and artillery to prepare for a rapid, large-scale push into Ukraine from multiple locations. This intelligence has been conveyed to some NATO members over the past week to back up U.S. concerns about Putin's possible intentions and an increasingly frantic diplomatic effort to deter him from any incursion, with European leaders engaging directly with the Russian president. The diplomacy is informed by an American assessment that Putin could be weighing an invasion early next year as his troops again mass near the border. In the meantime, the White House on Friday called on Russia to de-escalate tensions with Ukraine, saying that it has raised its concerns about Moscow's military buildup directly. The White House spokesman Jen Psaki told reporters that we also continue to have serious concerns about Russian military activities and harsh rhetoric towards Ukraine and call on Moscow to de-escalate the tensions. Now, despite these warnings on both sides, the Kremlin has maintained high-level contacts with Washington and spoke repeatedly of a possible summit between Putin and Biden to follow up their initial meeting in Geneva in June. Now, with that said, a ship carrying 2 refitted former U.S. Coast Guard patrol boats designed to beef up the Ukrainian Navy transitioned near the Black Sea on Saturday, days after Ukraine said it feared Russia might be preparing an attack. The ship carrying 2 Island-class patrol boats departed Baltimore for the Ukrainian port on November 8th. Ukrainian sailors have already undergone extensive training in the vessels in the U.S. The 2 boats are part of a security package to Ukraine worth over $2.5 billion since 2014. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Saturday that his country has real concerns, widely shared with partners in Europe, over the Russian activities on the Ukrainian border. Now, speaking of the Black Sea, as a USS Porter entered the final hours of transit across the Black Sea last week, an announcement came over the ship's speaker system, portending of a potential threat. A Russian military helicopter was minutes away, set to join a Russian warship and cruiser that had been shadowing the ship for days. Putin had warned that the U.S. ships in the Black Sea now were in his nation's crosshairs and stated that this is a serious challenge for us. Now, in the meantime, just on Friday, 2 Russian Tu-95 strategic bombers made a scheduled 10-hour flight over neutral waters near Alaska. Putin said that Western strategic bombers carrying very serious weapons were flying within 12.5 miles of Russia's borders in a speech in which he said that the West was taking Russia's warnings not to cross its red lines too lightly. But the 2 Tu-95MS long-range strategic missile carriers conducted the planned flight in the airspace above the neutral waters of the Bering Strait. And further flexing the Russian muscles, a Russian warship successfully completed a test of the state-of-the-art Zircon hypersonic cruise missile just last week.
And you jakes out here keep talking about ain't no missiles in the Bible. Man, you think the Lord, it is plainly said in Isaiah 54. So you jakes out here in YouTube land all over the planet talking about ain't no missiles in the Bible, Vocab Malone, and you other demons out there. So you think that just out of the blue, all these nations is creating missiles. The Lord gave them the technology to create these intercontinental ballistic missiles, and it's not mentioned in the Bible. The one book on the planet Earth, the only book on the planet Earth that have prophecy. And the mentions, Salakia, and the missiles and North America being Babylon the Great is not in this book. You peoples is bugged out, man. You people are really crazy if you don't think Babylon the Great is mentioned in this book and these missiles, man. And these war tactics that's going on. That being shown every day when you look at world news. You jakes need to stop watching local news, man. That's your problem. You're watching local news by little Johnny and Tim and Jake and them getting killed at the club or car accidents or shootouts, and start watching world news and see this is serious, man. This book contains every prophecy that's been going on since the beginning of time, man. And it all was written down for us Israelites to take heed to what's going on, man, and repent because destruction is at hand as well as the kingdom of heaven.
The Zircon, a scramjet anti-ship missile produced domestically, was successfully fired at a target in the White Sea in the country's far north. The anti-ship missile is capable of accelerating up to Mach 9 and is designed to hit enemy surface ships, as well as ground targets located within the range of the missile. And finally, with all of that said, a group of Russian and Chinese strategic bombers have held a joint patrol in the northwestern Pacific, flying off the coast of Japan and over the East China Sea. They were supported by Moscow's fighter jets and command aircraft. Friday's operation saw the 2 Russian Tu-95MS and 2 Chinese H-6 strategic engaged. The bombers were escorted by fighter jets, including the Russian Su-35S aircraft. The joint patrol came as part of a pre-planned military activity and was not aimed against any third countries, according to Russia's Ministry of Defense. The goal of the patrol was to further reinforce Russian-Chinese relations and comprehensive partnership, as well as contribute to the strengthening of global strategic stability. In the meantime, speaking of China, the Washington Times has reported that China's military is now capable of a full-scale invasion of Taiwan and has added new missiles and amphibious ships to the People's Liberation Army for an attack on the island. This is according to the latest annual report of a
Hey, it say new missiles, man. The Lord got these nations advancing their nuclear, their arsenal, man. New. And this is what they doing, man. They working on new and better hypersonic missiles, man.
Congressional Chinese Commission. Additionally, the standoff between China and Taiwan has become unstable because the ability of the U.S. military to deter a Chinese attack is now in a period of dangerous uncertainty, according to a report by the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission. The panel noted that a People's Liberation Army invasion would be a high-risk operation for Beijing, but it would include cyber attacks, missile strikes, and a blockade, with an initial invasion force of some 25,000 troops. Given these developments, it has become less certain that U.S. conventional military forces alone will continue to deter China's leaders from initiating an attack on Taiwan. It goes on further to report that the growing danger of a war over Taiwan is among the key findings of the 551-page annual report, which also warns that China's rapid expansion of nuclear forces has increased the danger of a nuclear war. Military pressure on Taiwan's government increased sharply, and it is increasing the potential for a crisis or conflict. PLA leaders now likely assess that they have, or soon will have, the initial capability needed to conduct a high-risk invasion of Taiwan if ordered to do so by Chinese leaders. And one potential trigger for an invasion would be a Chinese leader to perceive that the American military is not capable of coming to Taiwan's defense, or if there is a lack of political will on the part of U.S. leaders. Now, to go with that, last month China stunned the world when it emerged that it launched a hypersonic missile right around the globe. Now it has been revealed that the weapon is far more advanced than originally thought. The Hypersonic Glide Vehicle, a maneuverable spacecraft which can carry a nuclear warhead, fired a separate missile during its flight into the atmosphere over the South China Sea on July 27th. Experts at the Pentagon's Advanced Research Agency, DARPA, are said to be unsure how China achieved the feat. As scientists say, the test constraints of physics. Military experts are said to have been poring over the data to discover how it was achieved. They also said to be discussing what the projectile might be for. It was fired by the hypersonic vehicle, but seems to have had no obvious target before it plunged into the water. Some Pentagon experts believe that the projectile was an air-to-air missile, while others think it was countermeasure to destroy missile defense systems so that they...
Hold on. Isaiah 13:5. They come from a far country. What's coming from a far country? It's talking about these missiles. When you go to Jeremiah 50, the Lord say, camp against her round about and shoot the arrows. One of the brothers put it on the comment board. This is Isaiah 13:5. They come from a far country. What are they? From the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. You Jakes out there bugged out if you don't think the Lord have missiles written in the scriptures, man.
Cannot shut down the hypersonic weapon. According to a spokesperson for the National Security Council, this development is concerning, as it should be to all who seek peace and stability in the region and beyond. This also builds on our concern about many military capabilities that the People's Republic of China continues to pursue. The NSC added that the U.S. would continue to maintain the capabilities to defend and deter against a range of threats from China. It goes on finally to report that the hypersonic glide vehicle was propelled into space via an orbitable bombardment system rocket, which can fly over the South Pole, effectively putting it out of reach of U.S. missile defense systems.
Hey, what it say? Hey, they shall enter in at the windows like a thief. Hey, man, this is serious, man. That's why we need to repent, man. Because the Lord is serious, man. And it shall be nothing left here in Babylon the Great and other parts of the world where these missiles going to hit, man. We see what these devils did with Fat Man and Little Boy. Them atomic bombs they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, man.
So China is definitely progressing very quickly with these weapons and places the United States in a very precarious situation. But in a whole, there could be no denying that we are watching prophecy come to pass
Exactly.
right before our very eyes. Everything Jesus.
Hey, and Jake's still out here playing, man. You got all these people talking about prophecies and playing out before our eyes, man. Heathens. I don't know. She could be a Jake. I don't know. Hey, but you see these heathens talking about wars and rumors of wars, man. And you Jakes out here talking about you trying to get your masters, bachelors, and associates and real estate license, and you trying to start a business, man. Babylon finna be destroyed. This is Isaiah 9:5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. That's how they fought in the ancient time. And garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. From what? Intercontinental ballistic missiles. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe the scriptures is in the scriptures. So like you don't have to believe that missiles are in the scriptures, man. You don't have to believe it. It doesn't matter. Guess what? What if some did not believe? It will happen, man. And if you don't repent, you're going to melt away. You're going to melt like candle wax, man.
Jesus said what happened is happening right now. But he also said, when you begin to see these things come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So keep on looking up, you guys. That day is coming very soon. And with that said, I'd love to hear from
and you see how she said, and that day is coming very soon. But Jake around here playing games, man. Jake around here playing games, but you got people, which we don't know if she a heathen or not. But you got, for the most part, you got people around here telling you that these things are playing out, man. Let's pull this next clip. Jake think this is a game. Well, this is for them that's in the know, man. The Lord has been showing us examples for the longest of time, man, to repent. Now these are let me see. Let me pull this one. Show you what Babylon the Great doing. What they trying to do. So check this out.
Are these 5 American Air Force weapons able to stop Russia?
Why so? Hey, because Russia is the main host of this party, man. Russia is the main host of World War III, man. Why they ain't say against India or China or Iran? It's Russia, man.
Are these 5 American Air Force weapons able to stop Russia?
And we know they can't stop Russia, man. It is a faith booster, brother. Yes, it is.
The Air Force's tiny fleet of 20 Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit stealth bombers is the only long-range penetrating strike asset in the service's arsenal. No other aircraft in the Air Force inventory has the range to take off from the continental United States and strike at targets on the other side of the globe inside highly contested airspace. The B-2 has an unrefueled range of around 6,000 nautical miles, but that can be extended to around 10,000 with aerial refueling. The U.S. Air Force is by far the most capable air arm on the planet. In addition to proper training and rigorous doctrine, the Air Force needs modern weapons to keep ahead of potential competitors. Over the past decade, America's lead in the air has
And you
started.
see, they always boosting themselves up. But we know, according to prophecy, that they ain't gonna have these type of weapons, man. They are not going to be. They'll never be advanced more than these other countries, mainly Russia, China, and Iran. Man, the scriptures say so.
To erode as Russia has slowly been recovering from the collapse of the Soviet Union and China has begun to reemerge as a superpower.
And they ain't slowly recovering, man. The Lord got Russia speedily recovering, man. With what? With God's speed, because this is the weapons of his indignation, man. You see, this is how Babylon always try to downplay other countries. Slowly. No, they speedily, man.
Nonetheless, these following 5 systems are the backbone of the U.S. Air Force, and should continue to hold the advantage for some time to come if ever the unthinkable occurred.
Welcome to Wireless Freedom. Enjoy great coverage with fast data speeds and affordable plans.
Number 1. Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit. The Air Force's tiny fleet of 20 Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit stealth bombers is the only long-range penetrating strike asset in the service's arsenal. No other aircraft in the Air Force inventory has the range to take off from the continental United States and strike at targets on the other side of the globe inside highly contested airspace. The B-2 has an unrefueled range of around 6,000 nautical miles, but that can be extended to around 10,000 with aerial refueling. Nor does any other warplane in the Air Force inventory have the ability to penetrate the kinds of dense air defenses against which the B-2 was designed to operate.
It looked nice.
The B-2 was
it
designed to fly deep into the heart of the Soviet Union to deliver a payload of thermonuclear bombs in the event of a Third World War. While the B-2 has never had occasion to fly the...
It's in case of a Third World War. Well, we know that's prophecy, man. And that's the beauty of this truth, man. This is Revelation chapter 9 and 12. It reads, one woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And it shall be with what? Isaiah 9 and 5. This third woe, for every battle the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Not maybe, not possibly. It shall be. This shall be with burning and fuel of fire.
Doomsday mission. Those same capabilities allow the bomber to strike with near impunity against almost any target around the globe. Further, while fighters like the F-22 or F-35 are very stealthy against high-frequency fire control radars, a large flying-wing aircraft like the B-2 is also difficult to track using low-frequency radars operating in the UHF and VHF bands. The problem for the Air Force is that there were only 21 B-2s ordered before the first Bush administration terminated the program. Of those 21 jets, 1 has already been lost. Not only is the fleet tiny and in high demand, the bomber has sensitive coatings and is ridiculously expensive to maintain.
And you see, they said 1 has been lost. Hey, well, this the Lord. Hey, Babylon the Great is coming down and sitting in the dust, man. This place is slowly deteriorating, man. The same way when you read about Antiochus Epiphanes and the Maccabees, how the Lord had worms destroying his body, just like he did Herod. Same difference, man. Well, there's a representation of Babylon the Great, as it say in Isaiah 14. The worms covered thee, and the worms spread over thee, man. Babylon the Great is slowly deteriorating, man. Everything, the infrastructure, the monetary system, the economy is being destroyed, man. It's being weakened. And why North America, Babylon the Great, is being weakened from the inside out, the other countries, the Lord is making them strong, man. Prophecy.
To make matters worse, potential adversaries like Russia and China are learning to counter the B-2. The Air Force has a follow-on bomber project called the Long Range Strike Bomber in the works, which is set to become operational in the mid-2020s. The service hopes to acquire between 80 and 100 of the new stealth bombers for a cost of $550 million per jet, which is less than the B-2's near $2 billion price tag. Number 2. Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. High-flying and fast, the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor stealth fighter is arguably the best air superiority fighter in existence. In many ways, gaining and maintaining air superiority is the core mission for the service. Only with absolute control of the air and space can ground and sea surface elements maneuver unchallenged. The F-22 is extremely stealthy and is fitted with advanced avionics. Further, it can cruise at supersonic speeds greater than Mach 1.8 at altitudes up to 60,000 feet for extended periods. When operating at lower speeds and altitudes, it has the ability to vector thrust from its engines, which gives it tremendous maneuverability. In short, the Raptor's combination of sheer speed, altitude, stealth and powerful sensors makes it a lethal killer. The problem for the Air Force is that there are only 186 Raptors in its inventory, less than half of what it needs. Of those 186, only 120 are combat-coded, which is Air Force speak for ready for war. There are only 6 operational Raptor squadrons, 1 operational training squadron, and a handful of test and training assets at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada and Edwards Air Force Base in California. Those squadrons are also smaller than the typical Air Force fighter units. Raptor squadrons only have 21 jets and 2 attrition reserve planes. By contrast, a typical fighter squadron normally has 24 jets and 2 spares. The Air Force is starting to investigate follow-ons to the Raptor with the FX program. Number 3. Boeing F-15E Strike Eagle. The F-15E Strike Eagle is the long-range heavy hitter of the Air Force's fighter fleet. The Air Force has 213 of these dual-role fighters, which replaced the long-serving General Dynamic F-111 strike aircraft. Unlike the air superiority, focused F-15C divided by D from which it was derived, the Strike Eagle is primarily a strike aircraft. It has far greater range and payload capacity than any other fighter in the Air Force inventory. But even with the added air-to-ground role, the F-15E remains a respectable fighter, especially in beyond visual range engagements. The F-15E, like many aircraft in the Air Force's aging inventory, will continue to serve well into the 2030s. The service is upgrading the jets with new Raytheon APG-82 active electronically scanned array radars and other modern hardware, but a number of pilots complained that foreign versions of the jet are far better equipped. Meanwhile, while the upgrades will keep the Strike Eagle relevant into the 2030s, the Air Force has no plans to replace the venerable jets. Originally, the Air Force had hoped to replace the Strike Eagle with a version of the F-22 Raptor, but those plans died when then Defense Secretary Robert Gates canceled that program. One senior Air Force official suggested that the service should extend the production of the future LRSB stealth bomber to fill the gap, but said that was his personal opinion, rather than service policy. Number 4. Boeing KC-135. While often overlooked, what makes the U.S. Air Force unique amongst the world's air forces is its ability to hit targets around the globe. The KC-135 aerial refueling tanker is what enables American air power to conduct its missions. That's not just for the Air Force. The Navy and Marine Corps' aviation assets are also dependent on the Air Arm's big wing tankers to carry out their missions. The Eisenhower-era KC-135 is old, and it needs to be replaced urgently. The Air Force has made several abortive attempts to recapitalize part of the fleet over the past 2 decades. The current Boeing KC-46 tanker effort will replace a part of the massive KC-135 fleet. However, even with the addition of 179 KC-46 tankers by 2028, the bulk of the fleet will remain KC-135s.
Yeah, that's enough of that. I want to show you this. Just showing what America say they got. Now, this is a clip. I saw this a few years ago. This is a jet these devils created. It's called a TR-3B, right? So check this out. It's called a TR-3B.
From pilots to aviation enthusiasts, from civilians to UFO fans, many people have witnessed a black triangular silent aircraft. It comes and goes without a trace. It is very mysterious. Some people say that it is a new type of secret experiment in the United States. The aircraft
Infomercial coming.
Why people are choosing this $99 drone over established drone brands. This drone engineer
can make incredibly high maneuvering turns and cannot be detected by a radar. What is even more incredible is that it was developed based on top secret research and development of the Nazis during World War II. This is the confusing anti-gravity aircraft TR-3B Black Manta Ray. Is this a scam, or is it a black technology secretly developed by the United States? This mysterious TR-3B is one of the most prestigious legends in the aviation and military circles, just like the Aurora reconnaissance aircraft. The difference is that the TR-3B uses an anti-gravity engine. The core principle of the anti-gravity engine is, through atoms, can accelerate high-pressure mercury to generate plasma, thereby creating an anti-gravity field around the aircraft. Its power core is an electromagnetic coil, which interacts with the Higgs boson field at the quantum level through electromagnetic drive. Aircraft equipped with anti-gravity engines do not use traditional turbines or rocket engines, but use high-energy plasma to generate thrust. The United States has been studying anti-gravity technology for nearly 70 years. Anti-gravity technology is very attractive to the military and scientists. If it can really land, it can reduce the mass of the aircraft by using electromagnetic thrusters. By the end of the day, researchers from NASA, the Air Force, and Lockheed Martin are all enthusiastic about this research. The TR-3B Black Manta Ray uses a multi-mode mounted on the chorus of triangular platform to enable it to make a right angle, amazingly high maneuvers like turning or super acceleration.
See, the reason I'm showing you this, because this is the Lord giving them this technology to the highest level, man. Because what it said in Exodus 15:3, Yahweh is a man of war, right? Yahweh is his name. So that's Yahweh giving his son Yahushua a great, which it would seems like to them it's going to be a good battle, man. And in the clip I was playing earlier from RT News, they were saying how Russia is setting, I mean, not Russia, North America is setting up their satellites for for the battle that's coming, man. They said they set up satellites to watch. And they show you that in that movie, this new Independence Day resurgence. They show you that how they watching when Yahweh shall return, man.
At the same time, it is very quiet aircraft with only a slight buzzing sound during the flight. The invisibility is actually a byproduct of the plasma emitted by TR-3B. It greatly reduces the radar signal of the aircraft, making it the most stealthy aircraft can sneak into any airspace of any country without being discovered.
Lord giving them this, man. It's for that good battle, man. You know what it's saying?
The TR-3B.
Second Ezra, when they say they was afraid, and yes, they durst fight because the Lord put the spirit on their ass to fight anyway, to be destroyed.
The Black Manta Ray is a typical secret project of the U.S. Air Force and the Navy. Like the U-2 and the SR-71 reconnaissance aircraft and the F-117A stealth fighter, they are all secretly developed in the infamous Area 51 in Nevada. At the same time, the U.S. military has always denying their existence, although it is in top secret status. Many people have witnessed this kind of triangular spacecraft and once regarded it as an alien UFO.
You see, they said they discovered a spacecraft. And Elder Manakazakba had mentioned this. You think the Lord done let one of these chariots crash? Come on, man. How they gonna crash? They don't use gas. Angels is flying these chariots. Hold on, let's play it again.
Regarded it as an alien UFO.
I don't think I went back far enough. Hold on, Salakia.
At the same time, the U.S. military has always denying their existence, although it is in top secret status. Many people have witnessed this kind of triangular spacecraft and once regarded it as an alien UFO.
That wasn't the point. But they're gonna make another point talking about how they found the chariot. Man, can you imagine the sky being covered? Or when they be covered
According
with
to
these chariots?
eyewitness accounts, the TR-3B is too sci-fi in terms of appearance, power, or flight mode. No wonder some skeptics believe that the TR-3B anti-gravity aircraft is a product of reverse engineering of alien spacecraft.
See?
And of course, it is based on the American style of doing things.
So you have another infomercial coming.
Do you make less than $50,000 a
That's
year?
the devils, man.
If so, you need to pay
That's the
close
Lord
attention.
giving them that technology, man.
From a point of view, it cannot be ruled out that the so-called TR-3B anti-gravity aircraft is a smoke bomb. After all, the anti-gravity technology is too unimaginable, and it always feels that it is not a technology that humans can master today.
crazy. They trying to make that seem like that's one of them, man. Anyway, so I got a couple more here showing this because this is all part of Babylon the Great destruction, man. So this is these are some jets that Russia got. Man, they're gonna look just like that too.
Welcome everyone, it is me, Maximus. I really appreciate you stopping by on today's video. We're learning a little bit more about aviation and military fighter jets around the world, and today we are visiting Russia and the MiG-31 Foxhound. Now, I always love the names they give different fighter jets in different NATO designations, and the Foxhound is one of those ones that really does bring a little twinkle to my eye, because it just seems like an awesome comparison to putting a fox and a hound together in the same word, considering normally they're both worst enemies. But I just absolutely love the different names they give, Russian fighter jets. And this fighter jet is just incredible. When you actually start looking at the intricacies of this jet and the capabilities that it had for its time, very, very impressive. Now, I am not an aviation expert, folks, so I want to make this very clear that anything that I do put in this video, I hope is accurate. But if it's not, I'd love for you to correct me, and I'll try and annotate that in the comment section below. So let's talk about this incredible fighter jet. So, for back in its day, it was first showcased and seen from the Western side as the Soviet Union's Mikoyan MiG-31, making its first exhibition appearance in the Paris Air Show in 1991, and was given a show of brute force in terms of long-range interceptor capability. It was originally developed to counter the U.S. Air Force's Lockheed SR-71 strategic reconnaissance aircraft and the U.S. cruise missile-carrying bombers. The aircraft was originally designed around a large phased array radar, which was very advanced for its day, and an associated weapon missile system with a look-down, shoot-down capability. Also, with the impressive supersonic performance of those two massive engines producing so much thrust, pushing it to an extreme speed, which resulted in a very versatile interceptor that is now even being adapted to new missions to this day. While the aircraft was a derivative of the MiG-25 and bears a strong external similarity to it, the two-place MiG-31 is described by Edward K. Krabrubsky, or Mikoyan deputy chief designer who led the development effort, as a, quote, new design with different engines, a new weapon system, new missiles, and a totally new mission, unquote. At the time they designed the MiG-31, the Soviet Union felt menaced from the north and the west by high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft and bombers equipped with cruise missiles. They needed an aircraft that could meet this threat and also intercept very small flying missiles and other targets capable of flying at extremely high speeds. Development of the MiG-31 began in the early 1970s. The first prototype flew in 1975, and series production began in 1979.
So you see, the point I want to make is every time Babylon the Great advanced their weapons, the Lord put a spirit in the other nations to do the same. So I got this last one. Then I'm going to get a few precepts. I just have a couple precepts I'm going to read. This is the last one. The water for tuning in. I know Apostle always say Jake, the attention span is short. But this is of importance. So check this out. It say these Russian air defense systems shocked the Israeli military.
These air defense...
Of course, they downplayed it. But check this out.
Defenses surprised the Israeli military, and also U.S. Air Force F-35s almost faced off with enemy air defenses. A surface-to-air missile, SAM, also known as a ground-to-air missile, GTAM, or surface-to-air guided weapon, SAGW, is a missile designed to be launched from the ground to destroy aircraft or other missiles. It is one type of anti-aircraft system in modern armed forces, missiles have replaced most other forms of dedicated anti-aircraft weapons, with anti-aircraft guns pushed into specialized roles. SAM systems generally fall into two broad groups based on their guidance systems, those using radar and those using some other means. Longer-range missiles generally use radar for early detection and guidance. Early SAM systems generally used tracking radars and fed guidance information to the missile using radio control concepts, referred to in the field as command guidance. The Russian military says Syrian air defense units managed to intercept and bring down most of the missiles launched by Israeli military aircraft at various targets in the Arab country's central province of Homs, destroying 10 out of the 12 projectiles. On November 24, 6 F-16 tactical fighter jets of the Israeli Air Force fired 12 guided missiles from the Lebanese airspace at targets in Syria's Homs province, Rear Admiral Vadim Kilit, deputy head of Russia's Reconciliation Center for Syria, told reporters. He noted that Russian-made Buk M2E and Panzer-S surface-to-air missile systems, which are in service with the Syrian armed forces, could destroy 10 missiles at the time. As a result of the Israeli airstrike, minor material damage was caused and one Syrian serviceman was also wounded, Kilit said. Syria's official news agency, citing a military source, reported that Israeli aircraft fired several missiles from the direction of northeastern Beirut at some targets in Homs at about 1:26 a.m. local time on Wednesday, 23:26 GMT Tuesday, but Syrian air defenses intercepted and destroyed most of the projectiles. The source added that 2 civilians lost their lives in the latest aggression by the occupying Israeli regime, while a civilian sustained serious injuries and 6 government soldiers were also wounded. The airstrike resulted in some material losses as well. U.S. Air Force F-35S almost faced off with enemy air defenses. The F-35S detected the SAM launcher via their electronic warfare gear. 2 U.S. Air Force F-35 stealth fighter had a close encounter with a mobile air defense system during combat operations over the Middle East. The encounter underscores the stealth fighter's potential as a platform for suppressing enemy air defenses, a service official said. A dozen F-35S from the 388th and 419th Fighter Wings in April 2019 traveled from their home station at Hill Air Force Base in Utah to Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates to participate in coalition air operations targeting Islamic State militants in the Middle East. Gen. David Abba, director of the Air Force's F-35 Integration Office, in early March 2020 told attendees of an industry conference that the 12 F-35S during their 7-month deployment flew 1,300 combat missions totaling 7,300 hours and dropped 150 weapons. The numbers were pretty remarkable, Abba said, according to Aviation Week reporter Steve Trimble. Abba described one sortie where a pair of F-35S detected, apparently via their ASQ-239 electronic warfare suites, a mobile air defense system. EW. Gear can pick up on the radar and radio emissions from enemy forces, allowing a crew passively to locate the enemy without activating its own radar. Abba didn't identify the type of air defense vehicle or its operator, but it's worth noting that Syrian forces have deployed the latest Russian-made Panzer surface-to-air missile launchers. Turkish warplanes have made quick work of many of the Panzers as part of Turkey's ongoing air campaign targeting the Russian and Iranian-backed Syrian regime. Videos that have circulated online depict Turkish drones firing precision-guided missiles to destroy idling Panzers. The F-35S detected the SAM launcher via their electronic warfare gear, then zeroed in using the mapping function on their APG-81 radars. The resulting coordinates were precise enough to guide a missile or bomb, but the F-35S simply avoided the air defense vehicle rather than destroy it. Still, the mission points to the F-35S potential in the suppression or destruction of enemy air defense's role, or SEAD/DED, Abba said. Make no bones about it, this aircraft is the preeminent SEAD/DED platform, Abba said, and that's what we need to optimize it for. As recently as 2016, the Air Force described the F-35S SEAD/DED capability as limited, Trimble noted. That assessment clearly has changed as the F-35 and its crews have improved. SEAD/DED missions are among the most dangerous in aerial warfare, as they require a crew deliberately to engage enemy air defense systems. For that reason, leading air forces tend to assign SEAD/DEAD missions to specialized aircraft with highly trained crews. The U.S. Navy's EA-18G arguably is the world's best SEAD/DEAD system. It combines the airframe of a Super Hornet strike fighter with sophisticated E.
Now to show you how this confusion, this guy from RT News, he's I forgot, he worked at the Pentagon or former Pentagon something, Secretary of Defense or something. He said on RT News, and when, a lot of times when they do interviews about Russia and China and US, he say all the time that North America has no defense system against the missiles that Russia can shoot off. He said they have no defense system, but Russia has one that can detect anything that Babylon the Great shoots off. So they always downplaying everything else, man. But this is Babylon the Great media, man.
Gear and electronic jammers that can disrupt enemy radars and communications. The EA-18G also can carry radar homing missiles, allowing it to destroy rather than merely suppress air defense systems. The F-35 lacks both active jammers and a compatible radar homing missile. Granted, the Air Force in coming years plans to integrate with the F-35 two different types of radar homing missile. But for the near future, the F-35, as a SEAD/DEAD platform, would rely on its passive sensors, radar and standard precision-guided bombs. It's not unreasonable to assign SEAD/DEAD to a non-specialist platform. The Air Force on occasion has described the F-22 as a SEAD/DEAD platform, even though it too lacks jammers and radar homing weapons. An F-22 with its sensitive E.W. gear, high-speed and GPS-guided bombs could detect and attack enemy SAM systems more safely than, say, a non-stealthy F-15 could do. And the F-35 in the defense suppression role certainly is better than nothing. The Navy's roughly 100 EA-18GS in a major war could struggle to meet the demand for a SEAD/DEAD. The Air Force last operated its own SEAD platform, the unarmed EF-111, in the late 1990s. F-35S could back up the EA-18GS, helping to suppress air defenses, so that non-stealthy warplanes such as F divided by a -18S, A-10S, F-15S, F-16S, and B-52S safely can attack.
Precepts. Get a couple precepts and close out. Then you got Brothers Live, the Elder Live in Birmingham. This is I just had to show these points, man. These devils. Hey, the Lord is showing his armory. Beautiful, man. Beautifully. This is let me get this. This is Isaiah 14. In verse 10, it reads, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Now that's what we see going on. North America, Babylon the Great is being weakened, man. The Lord is weakening them and strengthening the other nations. Verse 11 reads, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worms is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. So the point of Babylon the Great is becoming weak. This is Joel 3:9. It reads, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares and the swords, and your pruning hooks and the spears, let the weak say, I am strong. So, as it said in Isaiah 14:10, when all the weak nations say, thou become like unto us, well, that's how the nations used to be. And now the Lord is building them up, man. This is go back to the brother put on the comment board that Isaiah 20, Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. This is Proverbs 15 and 22. Without counsel, proposals are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. Right? It said proposals are disappointed. This is Proverbs 20 and 18. Every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. So what we see these rumors of wars is these nations is plotting against each other. Through what? Through counsel, man. You got Babylon the Great counseling how they're going to take down Russia, man. Well, you got Russia and China counseling on how they're going to destroy Babylon the Great. And what they're doing is Babylon, the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, is setting Babylon the Great up, man. You got Babylon the Great defending Taiwan and Ukraine. So you're right in the middle of two superpower nations, man, that the Lord is raising up to be superpowers. Two powerful nations that the Lord is raising up to be superpowers. And North America, Babylon the Great is right in the middle of it, man, trying to defend Taiwan and Ukraine, and you're finna get wiped off the map, man. But that's that's Yahweh Shem Shai. This is this Isaiah 41 and 19. It reads, I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittim tree, and the myrtle, and the oil tree, and I will set in the desert the fir tree, and the pine, and the box tree together. Right? This is talking about Israelites. It said that they may see and know and consider. So what we're seeing prophecy play out. It say that they may see and know and consider and understand together, right? That's their body, right? The tabernacle of David, that the hand of the Lord Yahweh have done this, and the Holy One of Israel have created it. So we see when we read Isaiah 54 and 16, he said he created the smith that blew up the coals in the fire, right? They created an instrument for his works, and I have created a waster to destroy. And the only one that's understanding, that's why you got Jake talking about ain't no missiles in the Bible. Babylon the Great ain't in the Bible. Well, this is only for these trees that have understanding, man. These men of Israel, the hopeful elect men of Israel understand this, man. This is Jeremiah 15:25. This is for the know, man. Them that know. It's Jeremiah 15:25. The Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord, Yahweh power of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. To do what? This is Isaiah 34 and 8. It reads, it's Isaiah 34 and 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion, man. This is why the Lord created these weapons. Again, it say Isaiah 34 and 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. Right? In verse 11 reads, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. The lines of confusion mean what? You ain't gonna be able to tell Texas from no other state, man. You ain't gonna be able to tell. You got the Florida and Georgia line, right? You ain't gonna be able to tell what Florida and Georgia at, man. You ain't gonna be able to tell Alabama from Mississippi to Louisiana. Ain't gonna be no lines, man. Again, he say, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. So you ain't gonna be able to tell one state line from another, man, because it's all gonna be burnt up, man. This is the work. Let's read this again. Isaiah 34 and 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. You see, for the controversy of Zion. When you read, let's get this. Jeremiah 51, Salakia, and 24. It said for the controversy in Zion. Why? Because you put your hands on the apple of the Lord's eye, man. It said Jeremiah 51:24, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all that evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, like it said in Isaiah 34:11. He said, I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and it shall be a line of confusion. It say, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. Babylon the Great is the greatest mountain on the planet Earth, which will be desolate, man. This is Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 5. And start with our apostles, elders. Hey, we have been warned, man. We have been warned, man. You have been warned. We have all been warned, man. This is Habakkuk 1 and 5. Behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days, which you would not believe, though it be told to you. You have been told that missiles are in the Bible. Every time we look at the news in these nations, and they testing their missiles, you have been told that missiles are in the Bible. You have been told that North America, Babylon the Great, will be destroyed with missiles, man. You have been told. You ain't gonna believe it, as the Lord say. Like it said Romans 3 and 3, right? You have been warned, man. North America, Babylon the Great, will be destroyed in World War III, man. Again, behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days, which ye will not believe, though it be told to you. It was told to you. It was told to you, man. Take heed on what's going on, man. The Lord say, consider your ways in Haggai 1, man. Consider your ways, because you have been warned. Let's get this again. Isaiah 41 and 19. Because these trees that's being mentioned is the hopeful elect men of Israel. I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittah tree, and the myrtle, and the oil tree. I will set in the desert the fir tree, and the pine, and the box tree together, that they may see. Trees can't see. This is talking about men, that they may see and know and consider and understand together. That's the body, the hopeful elect men of Israel. Understanding together, being on one accord, understanding what together? The prophecy that's playing out, man. It say that the hand of the Lord Yahweh have done this. And the hopeful elect, we know it's the words of Yahweh Shema Shah, man. Psalm 68 and 11 say what? The Lord gave the word. Great was the company of those that published it, man. It say again, that they may see and know and consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord Yahweh have done this, and the Holy One of Israel have created it, right? So it said the cedar, the shittah tree, the myrtle, the oil tree, the fir tree, the pine, and the box together. Let me get this real quick. Let me get this to prove that point. When you go to Ezekiel 31, it talks about these different trees that was in the Garden of Eden, right? This is Mark 8 and 24. Listen to this. Just to make that point, because Jake talking about, it ain't talking about no trees. It ain't talking about no men. It's talking about trees. This is Mark 8 and 24. It say, and he looked upon and said, let's read this. This is Mark 8 and 23. It reads, and he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw out. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. You see? Just a reference to prove the point in Isaiah 41. So, when you're reading this, that's why we try to tell Jake it's in parables, man. I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittah tree, and the myrtle and the oil tree, and I will set in the desert the fir tree and the pine and the box tree together. These are different brothers from different walks of life, man. Oh, it's all good, it's all good. It say that they may see and know and consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord Yahweh have done this, and the Holy One of Israel have created it. Oh, let me get this. Let's get this. This is Isaiah 43, right? Listen. It said that they may see and know and understand together. There's Isaiah 43 and 7. It say, even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, yeah, I have made him. Bring forth the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears. It say, let all the nations be gathered together, and there's an and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this and show us former things? Let them bring forth their witnesses that they may be justified, or let them hear and say, it is true. You see, and that's why you got these men of Israel, starting with the apostles' great millstone, declaring these things to you, man, that it will happen. It's going to happen, man. And as you read in let me get this. This is Acts 2. This is Acts 2 and verse 21, making a point. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. It say, ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yahweh shall of Nazareth, a man approved of power among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which power did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. So these miracles, signs and wonders, what we seeing? Prophecy. We seeing signs. These are wonders, man. It's nothing new under the sun. It's the same things that we already know, man. And for Babylon the Great to be destroyed, hey, it's a blessing. It's a miracle. Lord willing, man, we get to see it play out. So, I give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rukah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether can accept it or not. And a sincere salutation to all the Akim, pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the elect. Shalom to the Akwath who are listening, learning. The few sisters who are listening, learning. Lord wills edifying. So next time I say Shalom. Wa abba. The water for tuning in. May you help by Shema shall continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. The water for your precepts. The water for your precepts. I ain't get to read the ones I want to read. So like I ain't get to read them. Hey, but they there for ones that come out there. If they want, matter of fact, let me read a couple of these. This is Isaiah. This is from the brother Geshan 72, Isaiah 13 and 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Right? Let me get that. Verse 18. It reads, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. They shall not spare children. Just like these devils, when they came and destroyed us, they didn't spare our kids. They didn't spare the old, and they ain't take no gold or silver, man. It say, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when power overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch their tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. So you see, this is a prophecy. And who are the Medes? Like we said, it's nothing new under the sun. When you go to Ecclesiastes, I gotta read it. It's Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, and it reads, the thing that have been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It have been already of old time, which was before us, right? When you read Ecclesiastes 3 and 15, that which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and Yahweh Shema Shai required that which is past, which is what? When you read in Daniel 7, it tell you that the Medo and Persian Empire, the Medes and the Persians took down Babylon, right? Where is nothing new under the sun. The same nations that took down the ancient Babylon is going to take down the new Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, right? So you got Russia, Iran. It tell you that in Ezekiel 38, Russia, Iran, China, all these nations is going to take down Babylon the Great, along with the 10 horns. The brother got it right here. Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. It's playing out, man. We see the separation. We just had the Brexit, right? About EU separating from Babylon, right? Great Britain separating from Babylon. These things are happening, man. It's prophecy. So, go out for your precepts. Till next time, I say Shalom. Wa abba.